All right, let's jump right into a huge topic in the tech world today. Why are so many AI projects failing? I mean, the promise of AI is massive, but if you don't have the right foundation, that promise, well, it can turn into a really expensive headache. That's why today we're going to break down the blueprint for getting it right, how to make your data truly AI ready.
So let's start with that big looming question. Why do so many of these amazing, well-funded AI initiatives just fizzle out? A 2023 Gartner survey gives us a really clear and frankly pretty stark picture. And it all points to one single, often overlooked culprit.
And here's the number that should stop you in your tracks. A full 52%. 52% of AI projects never even make it into production. Just think about that for a second. More than half of all the time, the money, the brain power, it just disappears before it can create any value at all. And it gets even more specific. If you look at organizations that don't have what's called an AI-ready data practice, a formal process for getting their data in shape, that failure rate shoots up to over 60%. So this isn't about bad luck. It's a direct result of not being prepared. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The problem usually isn't the fancy AI algorithm or the model itself. That technology, it's more accessible than ever. The real roadblock, the thing that stops AI from succeeding, is the data that we feed it. The bottom line is simple. If your data isn't right, your organization just isn't ready for AI. And Gartner has this analogy that just perfectly captures the chaos. They say it's like searching for a book in a massive library, shelf by shelf, but with no catalog. You have mountains of data, but no map, no guide. It's just an exhausting and usually a pointless search. But don't worry, there is a path through all this chaos. Today, we're going to walk through Gartner's 5-step framework to get your data ready for prime time. We'll start by understanding what's at stake, then move to aligning your data, governing and activating it, preparing and enhancing it, and finally, we'll look at the incredible future you can build. Okay, so first up, let's really dig into the scale of this problem. Before we get to the solution, it's so important to understand just how high the stakes are when it comes to getting this right. So what are we even talking about when we say AI-ready data? What's the goal? Well, according to Gartner, it's data that is fit for use. And that means it's perfectly tailored for one specific AI goal. But here's the really crucial part. This isn't a one-and-done cleanup project. It is a continuous process of always aligning, qualifying, and governing your data. All right, that brings us to our first and honestly most important step, aligning your data to your specific use case. Think of it this way. This is all about picking the right ingredients before you even think about starting to cook. And this step is super practical. You have to ask some tough questions. First off, do we even have the data we need? If not, can we get it? Okay, great, but can our data scientists and the AI models actually access it? And what about quality? Is it complete? Is it consistent? Is it fair? Can it be delivered fast enough, maybe in real time? And finally, do we have enough old data to actually test our model and know if it's working? And of course, these data ingredients, they come from everywhere. You've got your core data from inside the company, which brings up all kinds of privacy and security challenges. Then you might have data from partners, where you're worried about whether it's even available or accurate. And then there's the wild west of public and social media data, where just getting consistency is a huge fight. Every single source has its own hurdles you've got to clear. Okay, so once we've picked our ingredients and aligned them with our goal, we move on to the next two big steps. This is where we build the guardrails and the brains of the operation: governance and activation. Step 2 is all about managing risk. This is where you have to sit down with your legal and business folks and figure out the rules of the road. How can this data be used in our AI models? This is how you prevent massive legal fines and, unethical uses of AI. And we're not talking about vague ideas here. These are hard requirements. You have to think about regulations like GDPR or CCPA. You need crystal clear rules on user privacy and consent. Obviously, strong security and access controls are non-negotiable. You even have to think about jurisdiction, like where in the world is this data allowed to be stored and used? Now, building on top of that strong governance, step 3 is where things get really cool. This is where we take our metadata, which is just data about our data, and we evolve it from something that just sits in a folder somewhere to something that actively helps us make smarter decisions. So, what this does is it turns your whole data ecosystem into this intelligent, self learning system. First, you discover all the metadata you have from everywhere. Then, you're constantly enriching it with new info from all your tools. Next, you analyze it to see how data is actually being used. And then the magic happens. The system starts to infer recommendations and builds this smart knowledge graph. It's like having an internal Google for your company's data, one that not only finds stuff, but tells you what's the best data to use for your project.
So now we get to the real engine room of this whole process, steps 4 and 5. This is where all the hands-on engineering and quality control happens. And the most critical thing to get here is that this is not a one-time task. It is a continuous, never-ending loop. Let's break this down real quick. Step 4, prepare, is all the heavy lifting. It's the data engineering work of cleaning, integrating, and getting all the raw materials ready. Then step 5, assure and enhance. That's your quality control. This is where you test the AI's output, you monitor for any weird issues, and you just keep everything on the rails. And I really want to hammer this point home. The data gets prepared in step 4, and then it gets tested and checked in step 5. Now, if it isn't perfect, and trust me, it's never perfect on the first try, it goes right back to step 4 for more work. This constant back and forth between your data teams and your data science teams goes on and on until that data is truly perfect for the AI model. It's a living, breathing process. So you do all this work, you align, you govern, you activate, you run this continuous loop. What's the big payoff? What's the point? Well, let's talk about the incredible strategic future you open up when you get data readiness right. The business case here is it's a no-brainer. Gartner predicts that when generative AI is powered by AI-ready data, it can slash your manual data management costs by up to 20% every single year. But at the exact same time, it lets you go after 4 times as many new projects. So you get this amazing 2-for-1 deal. You're cutting costs while you multiply your ability to innovate. Okay, let's wrap this all up with the key things you need to remember. First, most AI projects fail because of data problems. Period. The fix is a continuous 5-step process, not a one-time project. It always starts by aligning your data to a specific business goal. Remember, those final 2 steps, prepare and enhance, are a constant loop. And the reward for all this discipline is huge: lower costs and way more business value. And that really leaves us with one final and I think crucial question for you to take back to your own organization. Right now, today, is your data an obstacle that's holding you back? Or are you treating it like what it could be, your single greatest asset for success with AI? The choice and the work ahead is yours.